without the ability to lead yourself, you can't lead others. If you can't embrace doing hard things when your body and mind do not want to do them, you'll never be able to ask people to come up, rise up to a new level. So I think leading yourself, it's really, you never master that per se, but you should always be endeavoring to do so.
Hey, welcome everybody to episode 16 of the Faith Family Leadership Podcast. Today we are answering your questions on life, leadership, maybe a feee things in between. Got PJ with us once again.
Hello, everybody.
And I'm looking forward to today's episode.
Yeah,
We've been talking about it for a little bit. We're answering questions. Love a good Q&A. Now, before we get into it, though, I always like to give a big shout out to our leaders.
Yes.
Those that are listening, joining us on the journey. Thank you guys. Leading so well, leading so strong, and we love getting feedback from you guys. So anytime that you like, you subscribe,
please
you leave a comment in the chat.
Share it with a friend.
Share it with a friend. We love that. Now, it must be said, we're in June already.
It's hard to believe.
Hard to believe. It's 780 degrees outside.
Man.
Super hot, man. We are actually recording this a little bit later than we typically do because you and I are morning guys.
Mm-hmm.
So we usually record the podcast in the morning, but we are right in the middle of our kids conference Summer Blast.
Yeah.
It's been like 1,000 kids here.
Bro, that's amazing, right?
Super amazing. And my ears are still recovering.
Whew, boy, they were lit up this morning.
They were fired up. Caleb had them fired up this morning. It was good times though. It is June though, so we're in summer.
Yeah.
You got any summer plans?
Yeah, we're gonna take some time off and enjoy our family, hang out with some friends, and just kind of unplug for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
No, you need it. We all need it.
Everybody needs it.
Before we get into the leadership content today, though, because you're taking some time away, I got to know, what does an ideal vacation day look like for you? Paint us a picture.
Okay. Well, because I'm so structured in my daily routine, I like to deviate from that on vacation to some degree. A great day on vacation looks like getting up. Not too early, but, get up, do a workout.
I like that.
I don't normally work out in the morning, but I like to on vacation because
sets the precedent for the
You
meeting.
don't want to break away from family. Like, hey, hold on, I got to go work out because that's super weird, because you're there to connect with family.
Yeah.
So I get up and work out. If we're staying in a hotel or at a house, I'll go back and get cleaned up and go have breakfast.
Yeah.
I like to have a good breakfast. And then ease into it, I love getting next to a pool.
Yes.
Not necessarily a beach guy. I like to see the beach, but I don't like to be in the beach.
This resonates with me.
And then I have a Kindle, old one that I only use on vacations. So I'll load up some good fiction books.
Okay. You're not trying to learn about leadership.
No, because then I'll start working.
Yep.
I'll start thinking.
Yeah.
So I'll get a good fiction book and just lay out by the pool and maybe fall asleep, take a nap. I'm not trying to be in direct sunlight. I ain't working on no tan. I get enough sun on the golf course and just being outside.
Yeah, you got
walk
a good
in
base.
the neighborhood. Yeah, so I'm good. So I'm not trying to sweat too much.
No, if you do get a little crispy with the book, you dip into the pool, get back out.
That's exactly right.
That's the move.
So I like to keep it. I hate driving on vacation. Like if we're staying somewhere, hey, let's drive over here and see that.
That's not you.
I don't want to mess with traffic. I'm the kind of guy that likes to go somewhere and stay there.
So you would be a good candidate for like an all-inclusive.
Yeah. If it's good food.
If it's good food. Sometimes you get like cruise food. That's not the move.
That's most all-inclusives.
Yeah.
For sure. But I like to stay at least close by,
walking distance, if nothing else.
Yeah.
I know you're structured when it comes to your nutrition and everything.
Yeah.
How structured are we with that on vacation, or do we just pull the pin?
No, I don't. I don't think I'll ever pull the pin. I will deviate. I'm not measuring food on vacation. I'm just eating what I am making.
Conscious decisions.
I'm making healthy choices. Yeah. I know things that my body just doesn't like. And I'm like, well, if I eat that, it may feel
good in the moment.
Feel good in the moment, and then tomorrow I'm going to be hurting.
Yeah.
You know, or I'm not going to sleep well or something. So I stay pretty health conscious. I mean, I'll have some ice cream. I mean, I'll
splurge a little here and there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll enjoy myself, but
do y'all like to do excursions and stuff?
Hate them. The worst thing we did it one time, and you get herded like cattle onto some bus with a bunch of people, and you stop at different resorts, and then you get in line and you get a janky, zip line experience.
Yeah, that's
or there's
almost
someone yelling at
experience.
you we did cave tubing one time, so we're all like, hurry, don't go over there. I mean, it's just kind of like, it's not for me. I know some people love it, man. I'm not saying it's bad to do it. It's just not for me.
Just not your way of decompressing.
I'm not trying to be herded anywhere. I don't want to stand in line. I don't want to sit on a hot bus. I don't want to do any of that.
Yeah, well, and I think also if your life is structured in a sense where you kind of go from one thing to the next, you got a pretty full schedule. When you get away from that, you want the ease of I don't got to go anywhere, do anything, or be around anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Besides the people I want to be around.
Yeah. I'm trying to stay in flip-flops and shorts and a tank top as much as possible, and not.
Maybe I'll put on an actual shirt for dinner.
Yeah, that's if they make me.
If they require it. No shoes, no shirt, no service. Let's get into it. I got some questions for you. Some of these questions came from everything from Leadership Academy, questions that were left in our podcast because people ask questions all the time in the comments. So it's going to kind of be all over the place. Answer them as best as you can, and we'll see where it goes. Here's an easy one, or one that people ask quite a bit. What are some books on leadership y'all would recommend aside from the ones that we read in LA?
There's anything John Maxwell is good. I think one of his older books, he just revised it, came out with like a 2.0 version called Developing the Leader Within You. I think that's a really good read, especially as you're getting started in leadership, because it's just so practical. Anything Maxwell puts out is just going to be super practical. It's going to be bullet points. It's going to have good illustration stories, examples. I read a book not too long ago about how we process the information that we acquire, and it's called No. It's an older book. It's been around for a while. I actually thought about doing a study with the staff on it just for fun, like a book club or something. But it's called No Can Do by Ken Blanchard.
I know that name.
And most of his books are like metaphors. It's like it's a story that's telling another story and teaching you something. So that was an interesting read, just kind of how we think and how that affects behaviors.
Yeah.
And how that, gets through. Another book that I've enjoyed, I read it maybe once a year.
Really?
Once every year and a half, 2 years. It's but it's not a leadership book. It's a book called Seeing is Believing, The Power of Imaginative Prayer.
Oh, really?
By, I think his name is Gregory Boyd.
Huh.
It's a great book, and the reason why I think it's good for leaders is because it helps you keep vision fresh. And I'm just a firm proponent that leadership books are great, the mechanics of leadership are great, but the spirit of leadership is more important. And what I mean by that is that I am a spirit empowered person. I believe strongly in having the influence of the Holy Spirit really strong in your heart. I feel like prayer is the engine that creates that. So learning how to pray, learning how to let God speak to you through your imagination. It's a really cool read.
It's a cool read.
And when people hear a book about prayer, they immediately sometimes are kind of like, sounds like it's a little bit too cerebral, but it's not. I think it adds tremendous value to a leader that wants to have some fresh vision, man. I mean, we all need fresh vision.
We totally do.
We all need fresh vision for our lives, for our families. Yeah, I mean, you need it in every area of your life.
Yeah.
So it just helps you to believe for big things and allow God to stir up some things in you.
Yeah, for those listening too, we'll put some links to these books in case you missed it when you were listening or watching, so that you could maybe check it out, get it on Amazon later on. Some books that I love too. There's a book that I think you've read it, Tools of the Titans.
Oh yeah, that's a great read.
Tim Ferriss.
Yeah, it's a fun book.
It's a great book. Tim Ferriss has been a podcaster for a good long while now at this point. He's interviewed hundreds of people. And so he essentially wrote a book that is the snippets from the highest performers in different areas, everything from athletics to the business world to the arts.
Yeah.
I always like to study and learn about high performers. How do they live their life?
There's commonalities
There is
that transcends.
There is a crazy amount of commonalities. So for me, like growing as a leader means I grow in all areas of my life. That's a book I enjoy. It's not a Christian author, just for those listening. There's another book called Extreme Ownership.
Yeah.
It's written by a guy named Jocko Willink. Some people may recognize that name. Again, not another Christian author, but it's really the art of ownership when it comes to leading your teams, whatever. So I love that
Leadership's leadership.
Yeah.
You know, there's principles that are true, whether it's a Christian author or not.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And then there's a John Maxwell book that I read that really helped me a lot. Be a people person.
Yeah.
Early on in leadership, I felt the tension far too often of being a little bit more task oriented.
Sure.
And that was a book that helped me out a lot.
Yeah.
It was a good book. What do you think is the most vital skill for a leader to master?
Oh, that's easy. Leading oneself. Controlling yourself.
Yeah.
Leading and controlling yourself. Without the ability to lead yourself, you can't lead others. If you can't embrace doing hard things when your body and mind do not want to do them, you'll never be able to ask people to come up, rise up to a new level. So I think leading yourself, it's really, you never master that per se, but you should always be endeavoring to do so. And because it's easy to give yourself a pass.
Man.
It's easy, well, I'm going through this, or, and we do go through things.
Sure.
But some people get stuck in the perpetual cycle of giving themselves a break, and they never get a break. They never catch their break because of that.
And what is it, that old saying, like we judge ourselves by our intentions, but we judge others by their actions?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll give ourselves, we believe our own excuses. Well, it's just this, and then even in the character development side of who we are as leaders, which is paramount. That's what really this is talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily talking about executing a task list,
Sure.
but when your values, your beliefs, your actions are in harmony with one another, congruent, and they're in agreement, that's character. That's your character.
So
and so
good.
if you have high values, godly beliefs with Christ-like actions, you're going to have high character. But if any of that breaks down because you're not managing your own soul and leading yourself well,
That's right.
then it's just a matter of time before your undoing is
things start to
visible to
break
the
down.
public. You break down in private before you break down in public. It's always there's a lag,
Ain't that the truth?
from that. I mean, when someone makes a mistake, that ain't the first time they did it. When they got caught, or if there's some kind of a moral failure or some, even a company CEO, they're exposed for corruption. Well, that ain't the only time they did it. That's just when they
No.
got caught.
No, it's finally caught up to them.
Yeah. So they just, leading yourself and, really as you follow Christ, letting Christ lead you. I mean, this is a Christian leadership podcast.
Sure.
So I want, just for any of the people out there, they're saying, you need to say that. Well, I just said it. All right. So,
Noted.
but Christ ain't gonna make you do anything. He
No.
doesn't. The Holy Spirit doesn't make you do anything. There are choices you make. So you must lead yourself. You're the one that determines which road you get on through your actions and decisions. So
And it starts there.
yeah,
Before you can ever really strongly try to lead other people, if you can't lead yourself first, do you and the people that you're about to be responsible for a favor and push pause on that.
Yeah.
It's a great question. We've had this question come in a few times. Have you ever had to lead someone who is resistant to personal growth?
Sure.
What did you do?
There's not much you can do.
Yeah. Kind of what I was thinking when I read it.
That's the sad reality. I mean, there are people resistant to Jesus's message that were in the crowd, or actually the group of disciples, not the 12, but the 70, and those and people, they walked away. Jesus wasn't begging them to come back. I mean, there's not a leader has very few, if any, options available to him or her if they are dealing with a person that is resistant to personal growth, leadership, unless you're a psychologist and you want to delve into that arena,
Yeah.
you just kind of have to play with the team that wants to play. I mean, I don't want to sound cold, and don't come at me with, well, Jesus went after, the one and left the 99. That's salvation.
That's different.
We're not talking, that's not a leadership topic. So, I mean, if someone's resistant, they are stiff-necked. The Bible says, cast out the scoffer. Yeah. So there's people that you don't want to waste your investment of time in someone that has made it clear.
Yep.
Now, it's not that you're assuming that, but they have, through their actions, through their words.
Yep.
They've kind of, that I don't want to do that, or I'm not trying to grow. They're saying something or doing something that's giving you that message. It needs to be clear,
sure.
But you just know, hey, if I want it more than they do, this isn't never going to work. And I have tried to. I'm long suffering. Stay with someone. I've done it to a fault. And that's something I've learned about myself over the years, and I'm not doing that as much anymore.
I just to go back, you said the statement, it's been applicable to so many situations, to the point now where I even help train our staff this: you can't want it more for someone than they do.
No, you can't.
And as soon as that writing's on the wall, then you've got to free them to their future, move on, still love them, but know that the deposit that we make and the investment that we make of time, it's irreplaceable.
Yeah.
So make sure that it's a worthy investment.
I have a lot of compassion for people that live with that mindset. It's not that I get mad at them. Sure. I have a lot of compassion. And there's a plethora of reasons as to why someone doesn't embrace growth. There can be a deficit in their soul of confidence because they weren't affirmed as a child. They may have had a desire at one time, but maybe weren't equipped and empowered and encouraged, and they fell on their face and they don't want to do that again. Maybe life's just been incredibly hard and it's been filled with disappointment. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons for it. I'm not saying that they're just, rebellious people.
Right.
But their mindset determines their makeup. And now it's like, okay, you don't want to do this. I can't make it.
That's right.
I'm not going to try.
That's right.
Wow.
Next question is probably the single question that we've been asked the most.
Okay.
Where did you find your mentors, and how did those initial conversations go? I guess what they're asking is, how did you find mentors and how did you establish that relationship?
Yeah, I've had a lot of different mentors over the years. And sometimes a person's a mentor for a season and then they're not a mentor.
Yep.
I've had mentors that have become peers.
Yep.
I've had mentors that, just seasons of life change, proximity changes. I think you have to know what you're looking for in a mentor and kind of why you're looking for it. Like, why do you want a mentor?
Yeah.
Because a mentor is someone, I think the ideal mentor is someone there is proximity. They're walking alongside you. They're maybe, you could even say they're a couple steps ahead of you, but they're involved in your life.
Yep.
They also, a mentor also has wisdom. They have nuggets of wisdom to share with you, but you must know how to draw them out.
It's good.
So they'll listen, they'll share, but you have to know how to ask questions of a mentor. Otherwise, you're not giving them anything to work with. The best mentors don't want to say, now, hey, sit down. There's 5 things I've been waiting to tell you. Because they're not. Because the mentors are busy doing their own thing.
100%.
So you have to know how to get on their radar.
So good.
You have to do it in a way that it accommodates their schedule to a certain degree. I mean, they're going to give you time, but don't let it be something that they look at on their calendar after once and be like, I don't want to do it again.
Yeah, it's almost like before you try to extract value, invest some.
Yeah, so you're coming with a lot of gratitude, honor, not in some weird bow down to the leader kind of thing, but it's you're expressing. I like to express like appreciation and value for what they have accomplished.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I see you've built, someone's in business. You've built a great business.
Yeah.
I just admire that. A lot of admiration for you on that. I know that couldn't have been easy because no mentor gets to where they are because someone handed it to them.
100%.
It's hard work to be successful at anything in life. So they got to have wisdom, and then they need to have maturity.
That's good.
Like they have to have a proven track record of success in an area that you're wanting to learn and glean from.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean they're the best at everything.
Right.
And it doesn't mean they're perfect. Jesus is the only one that's perfect, right? So, I mean, don't put that on the mentor.
Absolutely not.
But they've been there, they've done that. They know the way, go the way, show the way. And they're able to say, hey, this is what I've done. This is what I encourage you to do. And then you got to be willing to have an openness to receive whatever they're telling, because you don't want to get in there and start arguing with your mentor. So,
the first time you do that, there's probably not another time.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean?
And then I think just a mentor is somebody, can be anybody that's just a step or two ahead of you in the field or the area of your life that you're wanting to grow in.
I love that. Yes.
So, I mean, that's what's beautiful about the body of Christ in our church, is that you've got people that have great marriages. Go find, your marriage maybe needs to get better. Go find out what they do.
Right.
Hey, can I take you out to dinner? Don't ask them to take you out to dinner, because they're not thinking about you.
Right.
So, hey, would you mind? I noticed you have a great marriage. Would you mind sitting down and having a cup of coffee with me and share some of the things that you've done that helped it, get to the point where it is, or business or anything? I think we ought to be learning from mentors. I have always sought out mentors that are ahead of me. And God's given me some great mentors, man, because then I now have the ability to stand on their shoulders and learn from their mistakes.
That's right. And in turn too, and I'm a product of this, is by you being able to be developed and having great mentors, you've become a great mentor for me and so many others.
Well, that's the goal.
Yeah.
And so it just happens that way.
It's cool. And then for people that I think that are maybe, well, how do I find a mentor? I think a great place to start is, if you're serving on the dream team, your captain's probably a good place to start.
Really good place to start.
If you're in a small group, your small group leader is a great place to start.
Right.
Like just the way that kind of the body of Christ works, and as we're all doing this together, there's already some natural levels where there are people that are steps and stages ahead of you. And as you get more connected to the body, you start to discover things like, hey man, that dude, he seems like a great dad, and he's got kids 4 or 5 years older than me. I'm going to take him to Wingstop and get some wisdom out of him.
Yeah, one of the things that'll keep you from having a mentor is your own insecurity. Because, well, he probably doesn't want to be, or she doesn't want to be my mentor. And you don't even ask.
Yeah.
Or you don't even, and you don't have to come in and say, hey, first meeting, will you be my mentor?
Yeah.
Say, hey, I'd like to learn from you about this. I've noticed this. I respect this about you. Would you share this with me? And then maybe through a course of interactions, hey, would you meet with me again? Hey, listen, I really want to ask you, would you mind mentoring me in this area?
So good.
Would you be glad? What do you think about us doing this more often?
Yeah.
If you're not willing to ask that because of some insecurity, well, they're not going to say, yes, then, well, you get what you ask for.
Yeah.
Nothing, but I think people that want a mentor eventually get one. People that don't live with the growth mentality and a level of humility that acknowledges, I don't know what I don't know, they never ask for a mentor.
I was going to say, they're probably not even asking this question.
No, they're not even. So if you're asking this question, that's a good thing.
Yep. Really good thing. This question, I'm finding it hard to balance leadership, dream team, and family. My heart is to serve and serve God well, but I also feel like there are times where I feel overcommitted and on the brink of burnout. How do I find that healthy balance?
That's a really good question. And I want to answer it objectively. But that word balance makes me uncomfortable because that's a subjective term. Yeah. I don't know if everyone knows what balance is. To be great at anything, balance is a tricky thing. Yeah. I don't know if I live my life in balance per se, because I'm not over here measuring if I'm in balance. And if something gets hard, it doesn't mean I'm out of balance. It may just be that there are hard things I need to do.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, so I was listening to a speech by Tom Brady the other day. I think he made it recently.
It's his Hall of Fame.
It was a fantastic speech. And he was talking about doing the work is hard. You know, he said when you're young and your friends are at the pool and they're sleeping in, eating pancakes, and you're the one getting up, loading your car up, and you're getting hit in the mouth by guys that are more developed and bigger than you. And then you go home bruised and you're trying to do it all over again the next day. Tom, are you living life in balance? I don't know at that point. You know, I don't know. But, and I'm not saying Tom is our example on everything, but I think you have to have an accurate or at least a reasonable definition of what balance is. Okay. That's number one. Number two, you have to identify the big rocks in your life.
Yeah. Love this.
I've done the illustration before where you fill up a container or a glass container with these large rocks, and then the little rocks go in on top. But if all the little rocks are in the beginning, the big rocks won't fit.
Yep.
So I don't know if people, and I don't mean this unkind. But some of you listeners out there, you're not real sure what your big rocks are. I've always known what my big rocks are. There's no question about it. It's my relationship with God, my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my kids, and then my occupation or my calling at the church. Those are the big things in my life. Everything outside of that, if it fits, great. If it doesn't, who cares?
Little rocks.
They're little rocks. So it depends on, like, you know, if you're doing more than you should in areas that are considered small rocks, then yeah, maybe you should evaluate that. But you know what I've noticed? People move the big rocks first.
They do.
And usually, I mean, and I being a pastor, and I'm not upset about this. I get it, because it's and man, I don't want to sound mean when I say this, but it's a lack of wisdom, and people just immediately go to, well, it's that thing I do at the church.
Yep.
Well, that thing that you do at the church is a gift given to you by God.
100%.
So, I mean, you're just discounting it because you put Johnny in 4 different sports leagues? Why did you do that? And see, when people look at him and you start questioning them about that, they're like, well, it's family, and family's most important. Family's not most important. God is most important.
100%.
Obedience to God is most important. And I think there's just a mixed up thing in this
culture in general.
About parenting.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a series on parenting pretty soon, because it's just we're parenting by the world standards. We're just throwing our kids in stuff. And every time we signed our kids up for something, we were always questioning, what's this do to our schedule?
100%.
Him being in this isn't more important than my peace and my ability to have a life. I'm not building my life around this thing or that thing. We're building our lives around God. We're building our lives around, you know, the calling that God has on our family. So that's just, and I don't even think that's preference.
No,
I think that's principle.
It's gold, man. You helped me with that when our boys were young. My boys play sports, but they play one sport at a time.
Yeah.
And it's in Wednesday nights, when there's first Wednesday, they miss that practice. And if they miss that practice and they can't play, you can't play that week.
Yeah.
And they're doing just fine.
You know, I was real proud of my son, our youngest. He was at church the other Wednesday, like a few Wednesdays ago. And we got a text from a parent of a kid on the golf team. And they said, Tyler won an award tonight at the golf banquet, or the sports banquet. I don't even know what it was, because he didn't even tell us about it.
Because it was during First Wednesday?
It wasn't First Wednesday. It was youth night.
Oh, gotcha.
So he's like,
he just pieced out and was going.
He's like, I'm going to church.
Yeah.
You know, that's his rhythm.
That's awesome, man.
So, I mean, he got awarded, and it was a good award. I mean, it was like for being, you know, a great teammate, a great player, an encourager to the younger guys. I mean, it was like the award every parent would want their kid to win. Obviously, I was like, that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. He didn't even care if he got it or not.
Shows you what his big rocks are.
Yeah. So, I mean, but I think no doubt there are time constraints, energy constraints. You have to know what you're saying yes to. If you're married, and you're having difficulty getting things done around the house, that's where communication in marriage comes in.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be, hey, let's talk about roles and responsibilities here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about who's doing what with the chores.
Mm-hmm.
There's a life management side of this.
Yep.
That has to be evaluated. Yeah. And here's the thing. If you need everybody to like you, you will say yes to everything.
Yes.
I want everybody to like me. Life is easier when people like you. I just don't need it.
Yeah, it's good, man.
I don't need it. I'm fine. If someone gets mad at me because I don't go to a birthday party, I don't do weddings that I get asked to do because my schedule's committed.
Right.
What am I going to do? Do everything people ask me to do?
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
No.
And it's not even that I don't want to. It's just I can't.
Yeah.
So, but there's big rocks in my life that
non-negotiables.
This is something that it's a value.
Mm-hmm.
It has time in my life and schedule, energy, but you got to watch the sideways energy stuff. Like, is it like, what's this for? What am I doing this for?
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody, whether you lead in the church or not, I mean, that's a different commitment.
Sure.
But I think everybody should serve.
Yep.
One, I think everyone should worship in a service.
Yes.
I think people ought to be in a small group.
Yep.
I just think these are rhythms that add value to your life and affects and touches all the other relationships in your life. Your marriage, if you're married, your kids, business. I think you just have to intentionally fill your calendar. We talked about this before.
Yeah.
Or it gets filled for you.
That's right.
And anything that comes in to change that better be a good reason for it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Really good. Really good.
I can talk about that all day long.
No, I know. It's good.
It's kind of a passion zone of mine. So hopefully the intensity is not too much for all you viewers and listeners out there.
They'll be all right. I'm going to speed through some of these here just for time's sake. What is one piece of advice you'd give to someone who thinks they may be called to full-time ministry?
Start developing right where you are.
There you go.
And like, what's the path? So we have a path for people here at Faith Family. Leadership academies on that path, growing in like up through the ranks of leadership. I think if you're going to be a pastor one day, you need to be a great captain on a leadership team. I used to do assessments for a church planting organization, and we had a guy come in and he was wanting to be a pastor, and this organization would actually fund them, approve them, and give them some resources. So I'm asking him in the meeting, I'm like, hey, tell me about what you've led. And he just said, I haven't led anything.
Oh.
Pretty much, he said, I had a newsletter that I was sending out to people, and it was Christian based.
Right.
But I said, listen, man, there's no way we can approve you for being a pastor. We're not saying you're not going to be a pastor, but not right now. So we're not saying no, we're just saying not now.
Right.
So go home to your church and submit yourself to your pastor and get in there and lead. Here's what I found. The best people in ministry, the most successful pastors are people that served in the local church. It has nothing to do with seminary degrees, theology degrees. I love education. I'm a learner.
Yeah.
I have a theology degree, but that has not helped me in this thing called leadership one bit. Not one bit. Most professors in a theology or a seminary are failed pastors. That is something I may regret because it's now in digital, it's been archived digitally, but they are some of the worst leaders because they don't teach you how to lead in Bible in some training schools. They just kind of teach you principle, or they teach you, philosophies and doctrines, and all that's important. All that is so important. But
it doesn't equip you to lead.
But can you get a group of greeters?
Yep.
And can you build a team with that? Can you build momentum? Can you add to it? Can you train? I mean,
so good.
Can you build relationships?
Yeah. Well, it's like, I love what you said about preparation, especially when it comes to full-time ministry, because I think even in culture now with social media, we've romanticized some of that.
Yeah,
in a sense.
It's a quick, it is. Hey, I'm famous now.
Yep. And so I think that you have to prepare yourself to walk through a door that only God can open.
Oh, that's the truth.
Every time that I've looked at God opening a door in my life, even when it came to moving here, to being in full-time ministry, to even the promotion that I've experienced in ministry, I wasn't really looking for it. I was just trying to steward well what God had currently given me. And I would even say to those young people, or even people, maybe you're not young and you feel like, man, I think I want to be in full-time ministry. How are you stewarding what God has given you in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just talking about within the local church.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying if God's entrusted a job out in the world to you and you're not stewarding that well, you see what I'm saying?
You're looking for your next pay raise. You're looking for there's no loyalty to companies anymore. There's no loyalty to organizations. Even in ministry, guys will jump from one church to the next because of a paycheck and a number, and they just don't want to develop. They don't want to grow into it. And I think people ought to be compensated well. I think people ought to be treated right in full-time ministry. I think the workman is worthy of his hire. That's what the scripture says. But if you look at Paul and Timothy, Timothy was a kid that he had a good reputation. He was raised by a mother that loved the Lord, a grandmother that loved the Lord, but his dad, as far as scripture shows us, I don't know if his dad was even present in his life. But he had a good reputation. And Paul said, I can work with that. Well, the next thing you know, he's accompanying Paul, and then Paul begins to train him on the fly, and then he became one of the best pastors at one of the largest churches in the region of Asia Minor there in Ephesus, and that's why he was telling Timothy, hey, don't let anybody look down on you because you're young. I mean, that's why that scripture is there. It's not there to tell teenagers to be rebellious. Or act like they're more than they are. He's like, hey, man, you're a young pastor. Don't let anybody look down on you. Just be an example, And he was telling him, don't be afraid. I mean, he's talking to a young guy that he's training.
Right.
But it happened because Timothy had a good reputation.
Good. So good. What are some practical tips to improve your magnetism?
This is good. Good question.
It is a good question.
I thought about that. I was looking at some of the show notes prior to us filming. I think smiling is a good thing to do. I've had to train myself to do that more. I'm naturally sometimes more of a serious task-oriented person. I've learned how to brighten my face up. I think you need to greet people enthusiastically, compliment people. Often.
That's good.
People love to feel important, and they love to feel interesting. So make them feel that way. Encourage, appreciate often, listen well. If you're going to disagree, if you have to, do it gently. There are times where people may disagree with me, and I can kind of feel them getting a little bit antsy. And I'll just say things to them like, hey, man, I love you too much to fight with you. I'm your pastor. I want you to love me. So it just kind of says, oh, hold up. I'm just not going there. I'm not going to fight with you.
It's good.
Seeking to understand other people's perspectives and not
we don't
coming
do enough
across.
Of that, period, in culture.
That doesn't mean that I'm agreeing.
100%.
It just means I'm wanting to understand where you're coming from. Because, I mean, you name an issue, I can somewhat understand why a person believes the direct opposite of what I believe. I can see how they came to that conclusion at some point, knowing how to, I don't know if I'm always the one that wants to try to bring them back to that, to my point of view. But if I try to win people over gently, wisdom's taught me that. I used to be a little bit more aggressive because it was an insecurity. I'm going to try to prove that I'm right. So, but I think if you're insecure, people will never feel like you're a magnetic person.
That's
because you walk into every environment thinking of yourself. How are people thinking about me? Confident, magnetic people walk into an environment and they're thinking about others.
That is so good.
They're not thinking about what do the people think about me. If you do that, you're insecure and you can't add value to people because you're wanting them to add value to you.
That's so good.
So
that's so good. How do you know when someone is ready to be a leader or step into a leadership promotion?
You don't know for sure. And I don't know if anyone's ever ready, but the intangibles are there, and there's you're picking up on things that they're doing consistently that are in line with what a leader would do. It may be a little bit raw, and it may need to have may need to be polished, with some wisdom, but you're always taking a chance on people. But I'm willing to take that chance. Someone took a chance on me.
That's right.
So I wasn't ready to be a pastor when they gave me the opportunity in the year 2000.
Man.
Yeah. So I mean, it's I wasn't ready, but there were things in there that the pastor that hired me, I still love him for this reason. He gave me an opportunity,
shot.
man.
Yeah.
Gave me an opportunity.
Yeah, it's that talking about having that good reputation. I agree with you. You never feel like you're ready. I don't even know if you should, because I think that's where the faith component comes in.
Yeah.
You know, and then even in the moments where I'm kind of like, I don't know if I can. I trust my leader more than me. So if he sees it in me or he's calling me to it.
Yeah. That's
You know
what
what I'm saying?
and what you said is that like it's so important because a person that's going to be a good leader doesn't feel like they can be a good leader initially.
Yeah.
Like
It's real.
now I don't think of myself as a great leader today. I don't. Because I always carry a little bit of that, man. I don't know, I'm in over my head. I mean, to be honest, I got in over my head about 9 years ago, 10 years ago, before we even started this thing. I mean, I'm battling imposter syndrome. Like, man, can I really be people's pastor? If people really knew me, you know, but I think that keeps a dependency
Yes.
on God and just learning how to receive strength from Him, you know. So I mean, I love it, what I do. I think about it often. It's like, man, I can't believe I get to do this. You know, people come up, I know you're so busy. You know, yeah, I'm busy because I'm not busy, I'm productive. Yeah. But I love getting to do this. Yeah. I love talking to people, praying with people, solving problems.
It's got challenges to it, man, but it doesn't feel like work.
No.
You know, and it's something that's pretty cool because it becomes such a...
Overall, some days do.
So yeah, some days have their moments. Last question for you,
Yeah.
Okay, for time's sake. What is the biggest leadership opportunity for the church right now?
Wow.
It's a hard question.
No, I think it's impacting culture in the last days. That's kind of a big answer, but I think at the state of where culture is, and you know, we have grown accustomed to the vitriol that's in our political sphere and just the culture war. There's a lot of things. So we kind of just see it as normal. And we're content to kind of let people kind of retreat to their corners. And I just think that the church, we have to stand for truth.
Yes.
We can't water that down.
Right.
We can't change the standard in order to, you know, fit somebody's preferences. But we can radically love the culture, speak the truth.
Yes.
Because people are looking for answers right now.
Yes, they are.
And it seems as though the stronger and more direct I've been from the pulpit, not in a mean way, but just like, okay, this is what God says. This is what we believe. I find that people are, okay, finally somebody is saying something with the level of authenticity and truth. And conviction that I think I could begin to buy into that.
Yes.
Because we're just in the society's broken. Nobody's going to fix it other than Jesus.
That's right.
And it's only going to get so fixed this side of heaven.
That's right.
But we're going to look to fix people's lives individually. And
we can all make an impact.
I think we can make a huge impact. But people have to be more bold in their faith, know how to share their faith, not in an abrasive way. That's not what I'm talking about. But just love radically and strong. You can't assume people are believers anymore. We have to be honest about that. We don't live in that Americana time anymore. We're a post-Christian nation at this point. So, but I think that's what I see. Yeah. So I think about the communities around here that God has called us to, and I never stop thinking and praying about how we can reach them.
Yeah, well, from the very beginning, we've said it since launch Sunday. Yeah, we don't exist for ourselves. We exist for those that aren't here yet.
Bingo. There you go.
And so as long as we continue to live that way as leaders in our community and the circles that God's placed us in, each and every one of us can make an impact, man.
Let's do it.
I appreciate you, man. Yeah, always a pleasure to have you on.
Love it.
Appreciate our listeners, our leaders. You guys are killing it. Let us know if you enjoyed the episode, share it with somebody, and we can't wait to see you again on the next episode.